Okay. So we've called this meeting to order. I've got 2:03 p.m. on June 30th, last day of June 2021, the Montecito Sanitary District. Madam Chair, Director Johnson is out today. So I'll be, as VP, be leading this meeting. Hopefully I'll do a better job than last time. We start out with our agenda. Thanks. We start out with our agenda for the call to order. If you do that, Miss Betsy.
Certainly. I believe Board President Johnson is absent. Director Barrett?
Here.
Director Newquist?
Here.
Director Eversole?
Here.
Director Fuller?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, now we go to public comment. Do we have any public?
I don't see any members of the public present at this time.
Okay, no public comment. Number 2 is gone. Old business. It says none. I don't know if we need to readdress one oversight on my part last time. And this may need to be an agendized item. I don't know. Let the other directors fill in their thoughts. For old business, we approved the budget at last meeting. However, that budget included a 1.6 COLA, and the board voted for a 0 COLA, 0%. So do we need to do some type of correction at the board level and clarify that? What is everybody's thoughts?
Director Barrett, maybe I can help with this issue.
Okay, great.
So, if I may, I spoke with our legal counsel after last meeting when the issue was brought up, and his direction was that the board made a clear statement on and approved a motion with a 0% cost of living adjustment. And so staff has been directed to incorporate that 0% COLA into the final budget that will get posted for the district. So
okay,
no additional action needed in order to clarify that motion that was made at the last meeting.
Okay, thank you for that. I just don't want somebody to look back at these minutes 6 months or a year from now and be confused on what happened there. And that was my oversight. So if no action is needed and legal counsel said that, I'll go with Mark's decision on that.
And just for your benefit, the minutes that will from last meeting will be provided at next week's general meeting. So you'll be able to confirm that on the minutes that'll be sent out.
Oh, excellent. Okay, good. All right. Well, let's keep rolling then. There is no old business. New business, the Highway 192 sewer manhole adjustments. We're looking at awarding a contract to Tierra Contracting for $185,500 for lowering and raising the sewer manholes to grade and taking such additional related action that may be desirable. We've got a report here in your packet, directors, from staff, and hopefully you read through that. And I think I'll hand it off to Brad now to explain anything, and to Tony, if there's any input on this bid and process, please.
Thank you, Director Barrett. So as the staff report summarizes for us, there are 60 manhole framing covers that are impacted by the upcoming Caltrans Highway 192 repaving project. That project is as part of their what they call their major maintenance paving project. And they will be paving a large portion of 192, which requires any utilities that are located within that right of way to be lowered to get out of the way and then raised after the paving project has been done. And this is kind of a more recent development on their end because they want to do full width grind and overlay. So not to be confused with a slurry project or a cape seal where they just come through and kind of put a new finish on the top. This is a full width grind and overlay. And so this is one of their requirements that they put on utility owners within those jurisdictions. Staff went out and bid this, formally advertised it, and we received those 3 bids that you see in front of you on the report. This is an all-inclusive cost, so staff are not asking for a change order on this because we believe that the $185,000 should apply to all 60 manhole frame and covers. It also includes traffic control per Caltrans standards. So those are some of the big bid items that go into that. It's not just about lowering and raising, it's also about the traffic control. All right.
Okay. Betsy, would you pull up that 2017 to 2021 cost of manhole covers we did in the finance committee? There we go. And this is so the other directors can kind of look at, when the finance committee looked at this, Don and myself, we were trying to figure out how things have escalated through time. I studied this a little bit today. It's interesting. We had Clearwater Engineering, which I guess, are they no longer in the bidding process? Are they still in business, or what's happening?
My understanding is they are still conducting business within our jurisdiction, but on certain projects, they might be too complex for them. They are a specific type of contractor's license, and so Caltrans requires a certain level of licensing and insurance requirements, and so do we within their jurisdiction. So looking at some of the projects they've done in the past, it might be because it's been smaller roads, kind of more specialized work.
And the only reason I focus on this, we're talking about 60 manhole covers. This is a big number, almost $200,000. And it comes out to $3,091.67 a manhole cover. So just round it off to 3,100. If you go back to 2017, there was a 3,100 for 12 manhole covers. And if you notice there, it says traffic control required with flaggers. That's the very top one there. It seems like whenever traffic control is involved in these things, they double in price. It looks like to me. Is that what this is telling us, you think, Brad?
Absolutely. Turning to the bid, traffic control, there was a wide variety of traffic control costs associated with the 3 bids that we received. Tierra's bid was $45,000 just for traffic control alone. So that's why those unit prices go up, depending on how many frame and covers we use. And as you're all well aware, 192 is a very busy road in Montecito. So it is an exceptional cost for what would typically happen if it was just on a county road.
So explain to me, and anybody's got a question at any time, just, I guess you address me or whatever, if we're going by those rules. Okay, Director Fuller.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. It's a very busy road. So you're going to have a hard time moving. I mean, just let alone moving things around, backing up the hoe with the extension on the back and everything. I mean, it just takes way longer when you've got so much traffic going back and forth. Just doing anything in a busy thoroughfare, it makes perfect sense that this is going to be substantially more time consuming.
Well, we're just concerned about the raising and lower of the manhole covers, which I guess, explain to me, Brad, they're grinding up and taking off the old asphalt. This is curiosity more than anything. The manhole covers have to be lowered prior to that, right?
That's correct. So the sequence of work probably, I don't know when we last discussed this, since I've only been with the district now 3 weeks. But the sequence of work, as I understand it, is our contractor, we award a contract, our contractor goes in there prior to the Caltrans contractor. We lower the frame and covers. So we take out the old material, we put a steel plate or some kind of barrier in there after we've lowered it to the elevation that needs to be to get out of the way of the grinding equipment. We release the site back to Caltrans, so for their contractor to come through and do their full width grind, and then they come back and overlay it. And as they overlay it, they also identify where our frame and covers are for us. So then we go back in, or our contractor goes back in after that work has been done as soon as we can, and we go back and cut out a perfect circle, put a new frame and cover back on it, and do and basically pave back to conform to the pavement around it. That's sort of the process. And so that is that timeline in between and 2 mobilizations for that one site, that adds to the cost as well too.
Yeah, my concern on the finance committee was, when the county bid this and then we reimburse the county for this expense of raising or lowering and then raising the manhole covers, you had some as low as $908. We're talking 3 times that amount now. Mm-hmm. And maybe you or Tony or somebody's talked to the county, why isn't this included in their bid? And then we just reimburse them like we did in the past.
Absolutely. So the district's always going to be looking for ways that we can save on costs. We were told by Caltrans with this project, Director Barrett, to get out of the way first and then come back in after the fact. So we can have that conversation with the jurisdiction we're operating in. If the county's interested in letting us reimburse them and include that cost within their bid for the paving, I fully agree that would probably be the most efficient and cost-saving measure. But that's with county instead of Caltrans. Caltrans has pretty strict guidelines, and this is very similar to what the city of Santa Barbara has been dealing with on 144. They have a project going on this summer as well, and this is exactly the process that I was working with them on before I left the city. So it does add a little bit of cost.
This project's with Caltrans.
Yep. It's a highway.
192. And the ones where they're included in the bids were with the county of Santa Barbara, two different entities?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And the county obviously has a little more local representation, and we can speak with them on a project by project basis. My understanding is there's 60 of them here, and so that's a big bulk. When it's kind of a project that only has the extent of 1 or 2 manhole framing covers that are going to get impacted, that's when it really makes sense to include it with their project, because it's a lot of work for us to go out and get pricing for only a few framing covers.
Yeah, if you look at the one next to the bottom there in 2020, that was 80 manhole covers. And it was only 1,250. And that was last year. So now we're talking 3,100. That's what kind of caught my eye. But I don't know which county project that was, or it's a busy road or that sort of thing. Do you think that that's reasonable, 3,100 for this bid?
I do think it's reasonable. It's not far off from what I've seen costs. It really comes down to your contractor as well, Director Barrett. If you notice that one on the one you just pointed out, 2020, that's Granite Construction. They are a big entity, and so they have a lot of resources that could throw at projects. I know the contractors that are working on this project, which is Toro Construction for the paving. They're a smaller outfit, and they actually did not even submit a bid for our paving or our manhole replacement contract. So ideally, we would have the same contractor be winning it, and they can coordinate that work amongst themselves. But they didn't even submit a bid, and so we're not exactly sure why that happened. But we're required to award a contract to the lowest responsive bidder, and in this case, it's Tierra.
And the last question I had, you go back to the debris flow, the sanitary district incurred about $2.3 million in damage and repairs. We filed all that under FEMA and got reimbursed like 95% of it, a large majority, in a very timely fashion. So this is talking about flow damage repairs that Caltrans is doing to 192. Has anybody checked with them to see if they're getting FEMA money to do this? And could our district get FEMA money for this lowering and raising of the manholes?
Thank you, Director Barrett, for asking that question. We have checked in with Caltrans, and they are not receiving any FEMA money for this work. This has been budgeted as part of their major maintenance program, and so this is part of their regular maintenance for their roads. I believe that's a misnomer as far as what's in the staff report. We believed initially that it had to do with that, and after confirming with them just this week, we've confirmed that it's not being handled as part of any FEMA funding. So therefore, the district would not be entitled to any compensation for that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that caught my eye, because if they were getting FEMA money, you can apply for this FEMA money after the fact. The district does the work July the 7th or whatever it is. We can always apply after the fact. If indeed this work is being done by Caltrans for damage, but it sounds like it's just regular maintenance, huh?
Correct.
Did you talk to an engineer with Caltrans to confirm that, or what?
We talk with their pavement maintenance program, or we have an email from their pavement maintenance program manager. So we feel that we got the right answer from the right person.
Okay. Those are about all the questions I had. Did anyone else have a question? I can't see everybody's hands here. Let me see here. I don't see any hands.
Woody?
Don or Dana or
No.
Gary?
Nope.
No.
No? Okay.
Woody, I've got a question. You know, since we're obligated, it sounds like, to supply money for this project, do we have any input whatsoever as to how this work is done and when it's done?
I don't know that.
Brad?
That's a great question, Director Newquist. We do as far as general rules of when we need to have the work completed. So in this case, we went out to bid, and so we wrote up a set of specifications, gave contractors all rules to abide by for giving us a bid price for each of these frame and covers. We have to take feedback from Caltrans, and so we do outreach, and they tell us when they want to do this work. We speak with them and try and get an understanding on scope, schedule, and whether or not we can partner with their contractor on this. So we do have some input on the terms that go into the price that our contractor gives us. But as far as the control of Caltrans, unfortunately, no, it's their right of way. We're just operating within it. And so as a utility owner, we get noticed with a letter that says it's your cost to adjust the frame and covers and get them out of the way for the paving project.
Well, what I'm getting at is, since this is a state highway and this is the main thoroughfare going through Montecito, if we could give some input that, you know, we're talking 60 manhole covers, and let's say 10 were done per day at night. You know, you're either a hero or you're a bozo. And if this was done during the day, it would create absolute havoc here.
Correct, and those are things that go into staff's discussions when we're putting together bid specifications. So we can always ask Caltrans for, you know, rules as far as when we can have a contractor come in and do that work. Our contractor does have to apply for a double permit, so we are subject to Caltrans rules when our contractor is operating within the right-of-way jurisdiction of Caltrans. And so my guess is they would encourage us to do this at night, because they too do not want to back up traffic or have any of those impacts. Sometimes there's an additional cost for night work though, because the contractor has to account for that work, those working hours. So It's not always a slam dunk that it saves money, but you're absolutely right, Director Newquist, that it will help with impacts to local traffic and safety for Montecito residents.
Well, we should shoot for that then. At least suggest that.
All right, if I may, I might ask Ms. Poitras to speak on behalf of what went into the design considerations.
So the design considerations, I mean, we typically don't do night work because of the added cost and the safety concerns. So it's not typical for Caltrans to request that utility relocations are done at night. So we assume during the day, Caltrans requires at least one lane to be open at all times on Highway 192, which is why the traffic control costs tend to be a little higher there and require the flaggers. So the contractor has to abide by all Caltrans requirements, and that's what Brad was referring to, was the district receives a permit, but also the contractor receives a Caltrans permit, and they'll have to abide by those requirements.
Did Granite Construction bid on this?
Unfortunately, no. Granite did not submit a bid for this. Our three bidders were, I have this number here.
Did Granite know about it?
Yes, they were aware of the project, and we bid this and put it out into, it's a formal bid. We published it in a newspaper. So it's hard to control how and if people want to bid.
Thank you, Carrie. And yeah, the three bidders we received the lowest bid was Tierra Contracting. We had Cal Portland Construction second, and Cedro Construction third. And you can see their total bid amounts there on the staff report. There is a wide variety of costs in there, and so I'm happy to see that Tierra was significantly lower than the other two.
This is on the same matter, but a far-reaching more subject. I know that Director Johnson likes to get in the nitty-gritty on these bids. When you get a bid from Tierra, is it like 1 page long or 20 pages long?
Director Barrett, we receive a bid package that has a number of things in it. Most importantly, obviously, is the bid table explaining the cost per item. We don't generally just go for one lump sum. We have unit pricing in there and some lump sum items. We also get bonding information in there as well, because work over a certain threshold requires payment and performance bonds in order to protect the district. And then there's some other material information in there, such as any subcontractors that are going to be doing any work for the contractor, material supplies that are used for the project if we need to have any kind of documentation for affidavits of material information. And then there's a couple other, legal contract information that's submitted as well at that time. So
It's pretty thick packet.
Yeah, when you boil it down to the information that's interesting, it's really the bid table. That tells you a lot on how they're going to do the work.
Because she was wondering if these could be included in our board packets, these bids, like these 3 bids. But it sounds like it's going to be a ton of paper.
Absolutely. So Director Barrett, the substance of the packet that we receive, we're happy to provide more information. The only thing I would really recommend for the board is the full bid table. And that is public record. That's something we can provide it. If the board would like that, it would help with the differences in unit prices and how the bid is structured.
How thick is that? Is it 1 or 2 pages, something simple?
It can be included as an attachment to the staff report if you'd like.
Okay, good. Let's do that, please, in the future. That if we get 3 bids like this, we can, take a look, and I think that'll satisfy Director Johnson, what she wants to look at. I don't think the whole packet, just, would you say a bid table?
Yes, the bid table.
Bid table. If we could do that in the future, that'd be super. What else? So Tierra Contract is winning lots of the bids here recently. Do they have like a little crystal ball in their office or what? How are these bids done? Do they send them in by email or by a sealed envelope, or how's it done?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer any of these questions on our bid process. It's very similar to what I did at the city. So you formally advertise and you generally have some kind of mandatory or non-mandatory pre-bid meeting to help provide the bidders any additional information. That's kind of our first preview into understanding who might be bidding on this work. So if it's a mandatory pre-bid, if somebody doesn't show up to that, their bid would not be valid if they submitted one. So in this case, we had a mandatory pre-bid. We had these 3 contractors show up. So we kind of knew who was potentially going to bid on it.
Yeah.
When they go to submit a bid, we've been receiving bids electronically, and we will host right now during COVID, we actually host a virtual bid opening where the bidders are told at the time when the bids would be opened in the Zoom link. They can go on and they can actually listen into Carrie reading the bids. And so we conducted this on the 24th where we had the bid. I got to sit through it. It was my after my first full week. And she opened up the bids, read the bids aloud so everybody can hear it. And then that's how we proceed from opening the bids. I'll tell you right now, Tierra is a great local company. So are some of the other ones. I've seen it go some years where Tierra wins all the bids, and then next year it flip-flops to one of our other local companies. So it really comes down to their schedule, their availability to crews, how hungry they are for work. And this is exactly why you'll see Granite win a couple years worth of bids for paving and all the work going on with Caltrans, and then all of a sudden you won't hear about them for a couple of years. So it's kind of a pendulum. You see their names come up often, and then all of a sudden they disappear. It really comes down to the type of work you're asking them to do. And I think what it sounds like talking with our engineering team here, we're asking for work that's right in their wheelhouse. So that's probably why you've seen their name more than work where you would see maybe a trenchless contractor or a plant contractor.
Brad,
So-
can I interject for a minute?
Yes. Okay, go ahead, Dana.
On all these bids, is there an allowance for overages?
So that would be considered a change order to the contract.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
typically we include a change order when we're requesting board direction or award of a contract. Typical change orders I see 10, 15% of the contract amount, and that's really for unforeseen conditions that could be encountered in the road. As I mentioned earlier, for this contract, this is a kind of a unit price contract where we've got 60 manhole framing covers. They're pretty well established out there. I don't see the need, and I spoke with Carrie about this, I don't see the need necessarily to ask for change orders right now. The only risk we would run into is if Caltrans, for whatever reason, got such good bid prices that they extended another mile or two up 192, and then we would have to have that conversation with the board. So we would explain that change in the extent, but at this time, we're not asking for change order.
Okay, all right. So are we begging for a vote on an award for this contract?
So that
I'll
is
make a
some-
motion, you vote to approve it.
I'll second it.
Okay, so there's been a motion to approve the funding of $185,500 contract to Tierra Contracting, and it's been seconded by Don Eversole. Motion was made by Gary Fuller, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then it goes out to public. Is anybody in the public out there?
Director Barrett, we have one member of the public attending and their hand is not raised at this time.
All right, comes back to the board for discussion. Any more discussion on this matter? The only thing that I would say is that whomever the county used in 2020 for 80 manhole covers, we need to hire them at 1,250 each. Whomever that was. You think that was granite, you said?
It appeared to be granted on the table that was presented. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Okay, well, let's do a roll call. Any more discussion by anyone? Nope. Betsy, would you take a vote call, please?
Yes, Director Barrett,
Aye.
Director Eversole,
Aye.
Director Fuller,
Aye.
Director Newquist,
All right,
and Director Johnson being absent, motion passes.
Okay,
Yay.
so we closed 4A, we go to 4B. 4B
Right.
is Romero. Was somebody had a question? No?
Oh,
Okay.
no, I was just saying you go.
Here we go. 4B is Romero Canyon Sewer Main Notice of Completion. Accepting the Romero Canyon Sewer Main Extension as complete and approving the issuance of a notice of completion for a total final price of $323,403 and taking such additional related action that may be desirable. So that's in your packet as well, gentlemen. And so I only had one question on this. There was a change order because it went from a slurry to a grind.
Yeah.
When the initial allowance of 30,000 was done, which was increased to 60,000, did we know that that was a grind or a slurry, or how did that get
If I-
changed?
If I may, Woody?
Okay, yes,
I don't know if you recall, but we had this conversation previously. The
okay,
county was the one that had changed their mind
Sure.
midstream because the road had been recently repaved and they wanted it to look perfect again. So they actually changed the requirements on us. And that's why we had to go with a grind instead of a slurry. Is that Brad was not here, so he won't know, but
Yeah.
that's a conversation I remember. Is that what you remember, Don?
Yes.
I remember that conversation also. I guess my question is, when the county does this type of thing, Brad, do they put in there if it's a slurry or a grind? Because it makes a big difference on our side.
Yes, Director Barrett, that's definitely our intent, is to reach out to the county and include them as a stakeholder when we do these projects so that we can be clear on that.
Yeah.
As far as the end result, if they would have asked for it in the beginning, I don't see that there would be much of a difference in cost savings. It's just a change in their direction during the project. So we did it as a change order versus if we would have known that going into award of contract and bidding, we would have asked for a bid price of grind and overlay. So there's probably not much of a difference as far as end result if we would have known that at the beginning, but moving forward, Carrie and I definitely will be reaching out to the county and trying to get a plan for their pavement schedule. That way we can be sure what they're going to ask us to do to put back the paving after we're done with any of these projects.
Yeah, that just ties into the budgeting. I know we keep, I think in the new budget was approved again, 400,000 for these type of manhole situations, but Don and I on the finance, 30,000 here, 40,000 there, 100,000 there. After a while, it adds up.
It's real money.
So it becomes real money. So we like to just kind of keep ahead of that. If staff could find out what the county's going to do, or if they've made a decision, that sort of thing in the future on these projects. But how many houses were being hooked? What was our participation? How many houses total could be hooked up again on this project?
In this project, there were 11 participants, or 11 houses that were served by the new sewer main extension.
11 houses, okay. And how many of them participated?
I'm going to have to ask Ms. Poitras to answer that.
So Director Barrett, at this time, there's 2 properties that signed the agreement. This was
Okay.
discussed, remember at the board meeting that we had low participation, and the board still wanted to move forward with constructing this sewer main in the hopes of encouraging people to connect.
And this was of our projects, a smaller project like Riven Rock, because we're talking less than 350,000, right?
Correct.
Okay. I think that's why we decided to go ahead and go through with it. So we had 2 out of 11.
Yes.
On that.
I
How
think it
many
was a
feet?
good idea.
Yeah, how many feet was this? How long was this?
496 feet.
496 feet. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to put together in the finance committee, totally different subject, but how much it costs per foot for these projects so we can get a ballpark. Because when you guys throw footage at us, then we'll kind of know what we're talking about
Yeah,
as far as money.
Director Barrett, there's so many variables that go into this.
Oh, I know.
I was talking with Carrie this morning about this one, and it's kind of in our more dense area of Montecito, and so to be able to pick up potentially 11 houses in a 500-foot stretch, that has a lot of bang for your buck. I mean, if we can get all of them to go down there, the cost per house with all the total costs coming into it is roughly $31,000, per house to connect to sewer, where I don't know if you'll see that cost for some of these other projects. So to keep that in mind, some of the site considerations make sense, are really important. And in this case, it just came down to lot size and how many manholes needed to go in, because those manholes are used for access, but we only needed 2 manholes for 500 feet versus some of these other projects that might need more manholes for fewer feet. So.
Yep.
And Carrie, can you throw up a map and show me where that this Romero Canyon project was, please? I should have asked beforehand. This is a curiosity. I'm wondering how close it is to our Lilac project. The reason I asked that is geologically, it was interesting to me that they only use 17 hours out of 48 for boulder
Yeah.
trenching.
Well, these
It-
things, sorry, go ahead, Karen.
I'm just going to ask Betsy to bring up a map.
Woody, if I may, these, I mean, I would, you have a big background in geology, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like where I am currently, you could dig a hole anywhere on this property and not find a rock. But if you go about 50 yards in any direction, you literally can't dig a hole without finding a rock. So we're in kind of a fold, I guess you would say, where a lot of silt got settled. But
Right.
It's weird. It's amazing how some lots are full of rocks and some lots have none.
Yeah. We encountered that when we put in our swimming pool. We finally hit one that was the size of a small building, and we said, well, it's only going to be 9.5 feet deep because we can't get any deeper. We'd had to use dynamite. So that was the end of that. I think it ended up being like 8.5 feet, which is plenty.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's different everywhere.
And I think that's definitely something, as we're waiting for Betsy to bring up a map for us, I think that's definitely something that the team should look at every single sewer main extension is what are the geologic conditions that you'll be working in, because that really can impact the cost of the property owners. That's something that we want to look at it from an engineering standpoint.
Yeah.
And see if there are any design considerations that could be given to that. I know Terry's been putting contingency hours in there, and it's to the best of our ability. We could go out and do a lot of geotech, but like you just said, Director Fuller, you could go 10 feet away and not hit a rock, and then another 15 feet away, you find a massive boulder. So geotech doesn't really help you necessarily when you're trying to install linear assets.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Thanks for your patience with me.
Thanks, Betsy. So the project started at the end of the previous Romero extension, where you see like the little yellow circle. That's where
Okay.
it started, and it went up to 657 Romero. More or less
So
that.
what's the next street over there to the, I guess it'd be the west?
That's Feather Hill Road. It's a private lane. And so, yes, the next extension would probably actually go up to at least Alisos, which
I think
is,
Director Fuller had a question. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
No, okay. Where is Lilac from there?
Lilac is to the west.
Okay. Pretty far?
It's a couple streets over. So it
Okay.
goes Romero Canyon, Orchard Avenue, Tabor Lane, and then Oak Grove, then Lilac.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so it's quite a ways away.
Yeah, but this whole area, there's quite a few creeks in this area and drainage courses. So Bella Vista Creek is one of the major creeks, and there's a lot of rock in this area.
Yeah. Oh, we got lucky there then. Yeah, there's the creeks.
Mhm.
I've
Perfect.
highlighted
Those are the
Oak Grove and
roads.
Lilac Road.
Yeah.
So this was the most recent extension.
Gotcha. Okay.
And as I recall, Woody,
Hmm.
you were the leading force in getting that done, and I commend you. I think everything we can hook up is good. Less stress on the environment.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I agree. It's pretty hard to do with 2 out of 11 participation. I remember it was low. I didn't remember that low. That's lower than Reverend Rock. I can't remember what that was, but in any case, did Don or Dana, anybody have any questions on what's been put forth here?
I had a question, Woody, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I think you and I casually at one time talked about the thought of a bond possibly to present to the whole community, thinking that the whole community would benefit if we did extensions to all those areas in Montecito that are not served. And eventually we would get a high percentage of those people hooked up to sanitation, which would help the sanitation department and I believe the whole community.
I think we have 3,067 ratepayers. And I believe Carrie said at one time that there are 351 septic potential
10%.
customers within our district.
10%.
So it's about a 10% expansion, right?
Mhm.
I don't know how large a bond issuing like that would be. Because we're looking at just Lilac and Oak Grove as a $2.3 million project. Carrie, how many houses again were on the Lilac and Oak Grove combined? How many potential customers?
It's 22 properties for Lilac and Oak Grove. So
Okay.
combined. So
That's
it's,
right, because it came to 105,000 or something like that.
right. So
Okay.
it's 16 for East Valley and Lilac, and 8 for Oak Grove.
So if Romero Canyon 11,
Sorry,
and say,
6.
and we had 22, you said, in Lilac and Oak Grove?
Yeah, 22.
So that's 33. So that's 10% of the 351 right there with these two projects. which is a pretty good jump on that. Carrie, you've done a lot of work on this area and extensions and things. Have you done anything as extensive as mapping out? I know we haven't surveyed and haven't figured out all the twisting and winds, and this costs more and that costs less and that sort of thing, but have you looked at an overall expansion into all 351 housing areas?
For the most part, yes. And we had presented that to the Strategic Planning Committee and the A&O Committee in the past of how best to serve more properties in this area and how to go up to serve. There's still a number of properties that hasn't clearly been defined how we're able to serve them. But I have presented the two different areas. So this is one area which I'm more or less calling Romero area. And then the other areas, the Ashley Road, East Mountain Drive area. Those are the two big areas that we've kind of looked at of how to serve them with sewer main extensions.
We can kind of make a ballpark on this with 2.3 million at 100,000 for 22 and say we get 300. So you're talking $30 million?
Yeah.
Just based on Lilac and Oak Grove, just ballpark?
Yeah.
Because these last ones are going to be the toughest. We're crossing
Right.
creeks. We're going underneath that. We got lift stations. We got all sorts of things going on. So it'd be a pretty big a bond issuing, I think, for our little district.
If Woody, if I may,
Yes, please.
I'm a little concerned that everybody that came in so far, they're all paying 30 to 100,000 to hook up. And that, would these people then get it for free that are after the bond is done?
No, they would still either participate just like these other projects like Romero Canyon, they can participate or they can defer. Of course, participation means they pay upfront like those 2 out of 11 did. The other 9 are deferring, which means they pay some interest rate that we earn on one of our funds at LAIF or the county or wherever until they decide to hook up.
Okay, perfect. And can Brad answer how much we have in the reserve, not reserves, but like, I mean, right now, if we wanted to just go ahead and do stuff, how much money do we have in the kitty for this kind of thing?
Great question, Director Fuller. So right now in our capital accounts, we're sitting at about 7.3, I think was the number that I looked at last week. Whatever I presented in the budget in terms of what we had in the capital account, that's what we have. That doesn't include depreciation coming in for this last year for our assets. But like Director Barrett and I had the conversation, that's really for replacement of assets, not extending new assets out in the system. And so, but yeah, that's the answer of what we have right now. I definitely like the creativity of the idea of if we do go this route, how do we look at additional alternate sources of revenue in order to cover this? I do think that's a conversation for a bigger picture meeting, especially like a strategic planning meeting for the committee. This item on our agenda today is for accepting the notice of completion. So the work has been complete, and this actually helps us get that money back. That we can recover the cost that the district has expended thus far to get the sewer main constructed, and this will allow our letters to the property owners to say this is now the cost. You can bank on this cost, and you can either pay now and get your connection connected, or you can defer. And pay more down the road if you'd like to connect.
When is our next, thank you, Brad. When is our next board meeting, Betsy?
We have a regular board meeting on July 8th, and the one after that will be July 22nd.
July 8th, okay. I just wanted to put forth, this comes into this, I'm sure someone's going to make a motion, there'll be a vote on this, but it comes into play that the finance committee had proposed prime rate for deferrals. So maybe, do we want to hold off on the letters? And I'm jumping ahead. If this project is approved, do we want to hold those until the July 8th meeting of the board, see if we can get that agendized?
Before any of the board of directors speak on that, my understanding of how this process works is if we get the notice of completion, approved today, that will allow us to send the letter that is attached in your packet to Tiara to start the warranty period for that work. And if you would like us to, we can delay that conversation or sending out those letters until we get better direction on the board on some of these other items that are currently up for discussion. So we do not have to make we do not have to send the letters out to the property owners tomorrow. They can,
Okay,
those can wait a few.
That's what I was going to ask, if you could wait on that. We were supposed to finish that conversation at the last meeting, but then we ran out of directors.
Man,
Right.
I'd like to make a motion to vote on it, please.
All right, Director Fuller?
Uh,
What's your motion?
Oh, a motion to pass this as worded, I guess.
Okay. Let's see here.
With the provision that we hold off on those letters.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right. Betsy, would you read the motion, please, ma'am?
Yes, one moment. I'll just switch to the staff report where we have the recommendation, which is that the Board of Directors accept the Romero Canyon Sewer Main Extension Project as complete. And a caveat to that motion is that we hold off with the letters to the homeowners, correct?
Yes, please.
May
Okay.
I ask for a clarification on hold off on the letters? Just so I'm clear, holding off on the letters until what times, just so that our staff can plan accordingly?
You want to say July 10th?
I would say, I'd agree with that. July 10th.
Thank you.
All right. So we have a motion by Director Fuller. We have a second by Director Newquist. Go out to public for any comment.
Members of the public, if you would like to comment, please raise your hand and you may unmute yourself and start your video. Director Barrett, we only have one and their hand is not raised.
Okay, back to the board for discussion. Anybody have any other things they want to bring up about this project? Don, Dana, Gary?
Oh,
No?
No,
Okay. Betsy, if you would just go ahead and take a vote, please, ma'am.
Yes, Director Eversole,
here, aye.
Director Fuller,
Aye.
Director Newquist,
Aye.
and Director Barrett.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
And then please note, of course, Director Johnson absent, please, ma'am.
Yes, noted. Thank you.
Okay, then we jump to 5. Okay, items for the next agenda. Holding a hearing adoption of resolution 2021-933 for the collection of sewer service charges on the county tax roll. I think legal was going to come back to the board with something on that. That's the same item from the last meeting.
Director Barrett, if I may.
Yes.
This is our annual hearing for adding this collection of sewer service charges on the tax roll. This is not related to the ordinance that was requested by
ordinance.
council at the last meeting. So this is done annually. We passed a resolution on June 10th notifying the public of this hearing, and we sent letters out. So this is holding the hearing and then passing a resolution to give the sewer service charges to the county for the tax roll.
I would suggest for the next board meeting, Betsy, if you would coordinate, I know you were gone with Brad, and find out where our meeting stopped and take a look at all those items that we didn't complete and put those on the July 8th, please, ma'am.
Yes, we have done that. It's just that
Okay.
this agenda was developed before we had finalized the minutes from the last one. The last
Okay.
meeting did stop, I believe, at 4:02 when Director Eversole left and there was no longer a quorum. So we have added additional items. If you can bear with me for one moment, I could read what those are.
And while
Okay.
Betsy's doing that, she's humble. I'll tell you, she's caught back up to speed and already got us back on track for next meeting, even though she wasn't here last week. So
Good.
she's got it ready to go. But like she said, yes, this was finalized.
No rest for the weary.
No.
So we will be discussing the Lilac and Oak Grove Sewer Main Extension Project, and I think we're going to have to rehear a report by the ad hoc committee on that project, as well as discussing the bids for that project that were received. We have a staff report which recommends, has a recommendation in it. The other item that will be moved forward from the last meeting is the interest rate charged on sewer main extension deferrals.
Sure.
And there was an item to discuss the sewer lateral rehabilitation and rebate program, and that will be on the agenda of July 22nd.
Okay. What
Yep.
about the $8,400 connection fee?
That, Director Barrett, that item is included in the one you mentioned about providing direction to legal counsel. And the board did vote on that last meeting. The board provided direction to legal counsel to draft a resolution, including that item that you're talking about extending out the connection fees, the sewer main extension fees, and being able to pay for it over time. So that was a yes vote. The only thing I would advise the board to think about is when we make those recommendations that we give our legal counsel some kind of turnaround time on it. I think that was missing when I watched the minutes, to give them a rough month timeline or a month and a half, so that way it's clear when you guys would like him to provide feedback to you.
We'll give him 48 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. So I believe he is working on that.
And in my business, that's generous.
So I believe he's working on
No, what I
that.
was talking about, we were going to agendize, I don't know if it was in that schedule or not, talking about the $8,400 connection fee and whether we wanted to lower that, eliminate it, whatever the board decides. So that may need to be put on the next, that's the thing I was focusing on, Brad. So Betsy, if you could, I don't even know if we'll have time for it. Maybe the next one's too packed. Maybe we have to do it in the second meeting in July. I don't know.
Would you like to request to add a discussion of the connection fee to the July 22nd meeting?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I don't want to get in discussion on it now. It's be a Brown Act violation, but I'd like to put it on a future agenda, please.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else anybody else wants on a future agenda or? And don't forget to have your committee meetings.
Yes.
Lord.
All of them every day. Do we need an ad hoc committee for anything since we're about to adjourn?
Nope.
No? Okay. Let's see here. All right, go back to the agenda. So we're on number 6. We're on an adjournment unless anyone has anything else they want to add. Anything from the
No.
public, Miss Betsy?
No.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Okay,
you all.
great meeting, guys. See you
Okay.
Thank you,
soon.
Eddie.
All
Great
right,
job,
thanks,
Eddie.
guys.
Great job.
Bye.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.